Suri Nagamma. There is a day that falls in the middle of January when people across India offer their worship and thanksgiving to bulls and cows by resting them, washing them, and adorning them with beads and bells. On that day, every year, I visit the shrine of Cow Lakshmi, situated between the hill and the old hall of Bhagavan. Invariably, my mind goes to Lakshmi's last day. The year was 1948, and I was witness to the event. Bhagavan sat next to Lakshmi with his hands on her, calming her and blessing her with peace. When Bhagavan left the place, Lakshmi remained motionless with her eyes closed. She remained in this position for more than half an hour. Suri Nagamma then lovingly took Lakshmi's head into her hands and placed it on her lap. After Lakshmi breathed her last, Suri Nagamma reported it to Bhagavan. I was 13. Some days before the first anniversary of Lakshmi's Samadhi in 1949, Suri Nagamma had to go back to her village. On the day prior to Lakshmi's anniversary, Bhagavan repeatedly asked his attendants, "Has Nagamma come? Has she been informed that tomorrow is Lakshmi's Samadhi day?" The next day, too, Bhagavan persisted with his inquiries. Nagamma did not arrive, until finally, after some time, she arrived. She headed straight to Lakshmi's shrine, and only then did she come to see Bhagavan. As soon as Bhagavan saw Suri Nagamma, he asked, "Did you go to Lakshmi's shrine?" The triangle of Bhagavan, Lakshmi, and Suri Nagamma is inscribed forever in my heart. About 100 years ago, child marriages were prevalent in India. If a married girl died, the boy got married again. However, if the boy died, the girl was doomed to lead the austere life of a widow for the rest of her life. The girl's head was often shaved and her attire from then on very plain. She was almost boycotted by society, as she could neither go out of the house nor participate in any of the social functions, even within the household. So it became easier for widows who had spiritual aspirations to pursue the spiritual path without succumbing to the temptations of the world. That is why Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa said, "I would like to be born in my next birth as a child widow." When you were a child widow, you were saved from all forms of temptations. There were no attractions and distractions to take one's time and mind away from spiritual sadhana. Such was the life of Suri Nagamma. Born into an affluent family, she lost her parents at a tender age. She was married when she was very young and lost her husband within 12 years of age. Nagamma had always envisioned herself along the lines of Sita, the dutiful wife of Lord Rama. This tragedy therefore proved to be too heartbreaking to be reconciled. She often locked herself up in her room, refusing to see anyone or eat anything. Consequently, she became weak and malnourished. Yet in the midst of this misfortune, she found immense relief in listening to people sing or talk about saints and sages. This encouraged her to read about saints. It also increased her longing to be associated with them. This spiritual seed that was sown soon blossomed into not just a tree, but a garden of beautiful flowers. Unable to attend school, Nagamma learned her mother tongue, Telugu, on her own. She studied Indian epics like the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and the Srimad Bhagavatam. She was especially drawn to a particular chapter in the Bhagavatam, where the Lord appears as the child Kapila and gives instructions to his mother, Devahuti, on how to attain self-realization. This was the turning point in Nagamma's life. She began to thirst for all kinds of spiritual texts and nursed the desire of meeting and serving a great sage. One night, Nagamma had a beautiful dream in which a Siddha Purusha, resembling Dakshinamurti, appeared. Brilliant light surrounded the Siddha Purusha. Nagamma wanted to rise and prostrate before him, but she woke up abruptly from her dream. She was terribly disappointed, and her yearning to meet and serve a holy sage became more intense. Nagamma had 3 brothers. One was a lawyer, another worked in a bank, and the youngest brother was an invalid. It fell on Nagamma's shoulders to take care of this brother. She did this until this brother's death in 1923, when she was 21 years old. During these years, she longed to grow spiritually, but her responsibilities tied her down. With the death of her brother, she had to move out of her village into the city of Vijayawada with her lawyer brother because the family did not want her to live alone. This move was a blessing in disguise because she not only came into contact with sadhakas, spiritual aspirants, but also had more access to spiritual books written in Telugu. And in 1939, Nagamma's other brother, D.S. Shastri, wrote a letter to her describing his visit to Arunachala during one of his business travels. He described the experience of meeting the great sage Ramana Maharshi and how his entire life seemed to have been transformed since then. He urged her to visit Ramana Maharshi and spend some time in Arunachala. He offered her his moral and financial support in this. This is the same brother who later translated Nagamma's Telugu letters into English. Nagamma viewed this strange sadhu rather skeptically. However, since she did not want to displease her brother, she went to Ramana Ashram in July of 1941. One look at Bhagavan, and she was both wonderstruck and spellbound. As Bhagavan looked at her intently, she experienced an inexplicable feeling of peace and wonder of wonders. She realized that the Siddha Purusha she saw in her dream nearly 30 years earlier was Ramana Maharshi. Sensing her wonder, Bhagavan smiled at her. Nagamma was certain that she was face to face with God and decided to stay in Tiruvannamalai for good. Since Nagamma had not come prepared to be a permanent resident of Tiruvannamalai, she had to return home to bring back what she needed. She cried when she took leave of Bhagavan, since she did not want to be away from him. And Bhagavan replied, "I am always with you. Wherever you go, whatever you do, I am always with you." Nagamma became ecstatic, and from then onwards saw Bhagavan in everything. She was filled with joy. Even her relatives realized that the sorrow-stricken Nagamma of all these years had finally found her happiness and bliss.